Hey, hello everybody. Is anyone out there? I had some thoughts in the mikvah I wanted to try and share with everyone. I wrote a text about a profile update about how Purim celebrates the fact that Hashem's presence and our ability to perceive Him is accomplished through the veil of the world we live in. And in fact, it's interesting because historically the Jewish idea of monotheism was to other people, to the Gentiles, that was considered, to the idolatrous Gentiles of the time, that was considered the belief in an invisible God. But to Kabbalists and people that are aware and people that are sincere and try and serve Hashem, they appreciate that the veil of the world is our ability to perceive godliness. That's the way Hashem made it in this particular world and mindset we live in, called Asiya, that we should be able to experience God through the veil itself. And so the idea that we're worshiping an invisible God to people that take religion seriously is like a joke. Hello, Evangeline. This is my first time doing this. I think it's very cool. And I don't know what I'm doing with it, the technology. It's brand new. So I just want to repeat this idea because I don't know when you tuned in exactly. But there's another idea I wanted to say before I forget. That I had this idea about costumes. The fact that we celebrate wearing costumes on Purim is interesting. There's nothing like it in our whole religion that we do something like that. In fact, Purim itself is criticized amongst Hasidim as being a day where people mistakenly celebrate it with halalis, with just frivolity and a very superficial way of celebrating a day that is much, much deeper than that. Going way off topic, I'm going to forget my original topic, but what we're celebrating on Purim is much deeper than the way that we express it just by being frivolous. The idea, there's an amazing story in the Gemara that speaks about Rava and Reb Zera. It says, Kama Rava v'shachta l'Reb Zera. He got up at a Purim party that he was hosting and shacks Reb Zera, his friend, a big Talmud Chacham. Rabbi was known to be a great genius. The word itself means great. And Zera, Reb Zera means small. So you have this idea of something large, something great, that's having an impact on something small, a finite person, a finite mentality. And you have a beautiful union because you have whenever you're in a relationship, if you have someone great and someone small, that represents a microcosm of our relationship with Hashem, which is vulnerable to something we see as infinite. Something that is the singular relationship in the whole world, to recognize the unity of finite and infinite. And it's just words when we learn them in a mimer, but try to appreciate what it means. Try to really be misplained, to meditate on the concept of what it means, that God is everything. So what are we next to that? We are a tiny speck of His consciousness. He allows Himself to have consciousness in every single person at the same time. And not only people. People are very, very, very finite in number compared to angels. Angels are infinite. You have, it says, Ein mispar l'gdudav. They're each troop of angels. Look, I'm wearing a Purim hat. Each troop of angels is finite in number. Let's say there's 1 trillion. I don't know, to pick a randomly small number. 1 trillion, okay? And And that's finite. So what's the importance of saying that angels are so numerous if they're finite? But the discussion goes to the idea that there's infinite number of troops. So you have all these states of consciousness that exist and that you could tap into just by having that way of thinking. Do I want to tag Gershon Watchell in this video? Okay, I don't know. Those are very distracting. So you have every time you're in a relationship, you are either here. I got to give an example to explain this. When the Sanhedrin sat down, the greatest people of the generation, they sat down to make a ruling on something. They would all know where to sit. It goes in halacha, explains in detail where each person, there's 71 people in the room, and each person knew exactly where they were. So every time you're with someone else, if you're sincere and honest, you know if the person's greater than you or not. You know whether you ought, by nature, it's a natural thing to have deference to someone that's greater than you. So in that small world between two people, which covers the entire span of consciousness, right? This technology is so new to me. So you have, in any relationship, you have one person representing God and the other person representing the entire world. It's a fantastic concept. It blows the mind to think about. I'm thinking about it for a second. You could probably use a pause anyways if you're watching with any type of engagement. So you have an infinite consciousness that exists in everybody's mind. That is the thought that you're having. You think it's yours. Mordechai, I love you, man. Happy Purim. I wanted to say another thing before I forget, because I'm going to go off topic. I hope someone can remind me what I was saying, because I want to go back to that. But I was thinking, any happiness you have today is not your own happiness. It's not even yours. The happiness you're experiencing is Purim. It's much greater than our ability. I was just learning Chassidus this morning. Hayom Yom blows the mind if you look into it, because very, very subtle, very intense. Oh, what was I going to say? And I was looking in the notes there, and because the Hayom Yom Avar gives incredible insight. Incredible insight. Is it too early to be not sober, Mordechai? Is that what you're... Are you being serious? I'm too sober. Happy Purim. You should all come to Canada to celebrate with us. I think Jacob's here too. Jacob, man, are you there? I'm going to wave to you as I learn this new... Do you want... Yeah, I want to tag Rabbi Bankalter. Of course I do. What kind of question is that? I've seen pictures of him on Purim that's one mindset I don't want to go into. The way it looks, at least, the costume. Oh, I want to speak about costumes, but that's not what I was going to say. But costumes are amazing, because on Purim we're celebrating the idea that it's like a joke, a frivolity, to think about our most superficial appearance, and that idea of our face, of what we present to the world, is transient. Anyone could take a different mask. You could trade masks with your friend. You could be anybody superficially. Purim tells us what we are. We are a raging party for God. We are an awesome celebration of God's infinity. That's what Purim tells us. That the transient mask is something to laugh about. That the world is something to laugh at. There was a chassid that when he was about to die, he says, Kushetachas. He knew that he was being challenged in that moment to say, oh, I'm really important. Look at the way I'm dying. All my greatness now goes up to Hashem. So that voice inside, Sean Bad Guy, oh man, I haven't seen you in like 30 years, something like that, 25 years. Wow, I'm going to wave to you. I actually have to get to davening now. I wish I could go on. If anyone would ask me a question, I'd probably stay on because I think it's very important to engage. Purim Sameach, you too. Hail to the editor-in-chief. I don't need hail. Hashem needs hail today. This is our day to celebrate. Esther going before Achashverosh is an awesome thing. She realizes that this guy who represents all the darkness in the world he himself represents God. It's an awesome thing, and she has to realize that. So why did she become Tameh and not continue her marriage to Mordechai? She was, I think, betrothed to Mordechai when she was captured. So she lost out on keeping her spiritual bond because it wasn't realized in the physical world, but she had a spiritual bond, which was her marriage to a tzaddik like Mordechai. And she sacrificed that to go into Achashverosh, and she knew that, but Mordechai was telling her, and she was reluctant. I'm from Toronto. I'm in Toronto right now, the holy country of Canada. Machdol Eretz Yisrael. We want to make Canada Eretz Yisrael. I was speaking about costumes. I think I was on a tangent and I lost the track of the tangent. Oh, I do remember it. It's actually a very intense idea. It's a scary idea to think that Esther can come to Achashverosh, who represents God in the world, as a wicked person. Think about what that means. Hashem, that's what the Gemara says, that everything it says about Achashverosh you could attribute to God. That's how we're supposed to understand mashalim, analogies, to such an extent. It says that the Hasidim in Russia mourned when the Tsar died. They mourned the Tsar who made their lives miserable. They mourned him. Why? Because their whole life was understanding God. And here was a living example of what God is in this world. A king who has power. That is what God is when we think about God. It's someone who has power, and we recognize that it's infinite, so we give everything for God. We totally say, all I want to live for is for you, God. That's all I care to live for. Every single moment of my life is just going to be my celebration of God. That's what Purim gives us, the strength to have that for the entire year. The entire year, we can tap into an idea that since we are alive, and since the only existence in our life, in all of existence, in the life of the entire existence, is God, so I have nothing to worry about in any mission God sends us on, even if we're Esther, and God sends Esther to the most powerful and most evil thing or existence or mindset in the world. And she has to present herself to that to save the entire Jewish people, because no one has the power that Esther has. No one has that kind of strength. So she has to be the one soul who is granted this impossible task of facing the entire darkness of the world. It says, the Rebbe said, I learned Sikha yesterday, it was incredible, it blew my mind. It says that Esther's whole mission in life was to do this particular thing. That's how Mordechai convinced Esther. He said, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to go before Achashverosh, that I'm going to be able to have a positive effect. Maybe it'll have a negative effect. Maybe it'll kill me. So she was reluctant. And Mordechai tells her, this is the whole purpose of your existence. And that's why he tells her that her whole family is going to be wasted away. What family did she have? She was an orphan. What family did she have that she had to worry about that? So I think that's the way the Rebbe is explaining those words, meaning that her whole, what she could bequeath the entire world will be lost, because each neshama comes into the world for a specific task, to share something that only you have. Esther's mission was general because it affected every person. It was great because it related to every person, but every person has that too. It might be in a more finite application, but the significance is just as great in every single moment, because we're connected to every person. Esther's victory is our victory. It's our facing the darkness in the world that's represented by a king, an evil king that dominates the entire world, right? 127 nations, the entire civilized world at the time. That's the darkness he represents, and Esther is us, that aspect of us within us, because Esther exists within us. We have an aspect of Esther that is something that we can tap into when we talk about it, when we're inspired by it. That is Esther. That's what a neshama is. An idea that we specifically, uniquely introduce to the world, and every person differently. I have like 23 minutes to prepare for davening now. I don't know if I should continue or start getting ready. Maybe we can drive and talk. Is that safe? Just got to go a few blocks. We're going to go nice and slow. I don't know if I'm going to do this. I might lose the whole thing. Okay, we're going to try and do everything at once. Like real PURIM deck. This can't be very interesting to watch. Let me see if I could read, drive, hold the phone. Let me see. Amen too. Thank you for your brachas. It's interesting. Chassidim say, I better shut my window, it might make too much noise. Chassidim say, why do people worry when they get the opposite of a bracha? In Hebrew, it's kuf lamed. I can't even spell it right now. Oh yeah. Kuf lamed lamed. Hey. Okay. So if someone has one of those on them, the opposite of a blessing, someone says something like that to another person, they're terrified. There's stories in the Talmud that speak about, or actually Chassidish Maises that speak about that. When a person gets the opposite of a blessing, he's very scared, but why not when he gets a bracha? Why doesn't he celebrate that and embrace that and say, that's incredible? Someone is speaking on behalf of God, because there's nothing in the world except God. And that existence, that mindset, that consciousness is blessing me. I should celebrate that. The reason why there's a difference in the way a person would be terrified if he got the opposite of a blessing, and when he gets a blessing, is because he believes that his words have power when it comes to negativity. But we don't realize, and we don't embrace and celebrate, and this is what Purim's all about, is to celebrate this, that there's a bracha in someone's words when he gives you a bracha. He's blessing you on behalf of God. That's incredible. It's not just a person's... Where is God most desirous of being? In heaven? No. Anyone who learns Chassidus Chabad knows that's the first thing they teach you. Hashem wants a dir b'tachtainim. So when this person gives you a blessing in this physical world, that is the venue that is most precious and satisfying and desirous to see. Oh, Rabbi Oster wants my attention, and I'm not even parked. I think he wants to give me shlachmanis. I'm not holding by shlachmanis. He didn't say Shechianu on the shlachmanis mitzvah yet, so why do it? You didn't say Shechianu yet on that, Mr. I'm getting it before the whole...
I did already. I did Shechianu in the morning.
Oh, wow. It's morning? I thought it was before morning still. I'm getting ready for that. And Shachris is when morning starts for me.
This before the Shachris, so the Megillah is going anders. See you later.
Bye-bye. Very looking forward to you, Rabbi Oster. Okay, now we're parking in a very packed parking lot. And it's 9:11, so we have 19 minutes to put on tefillin. And I have a shlachmanis on my lap that's rather large. And I'm pulling up now at the Holy Yeshiva in Toronto. I wish a happy Purim to your family in Canada. Look at that, that's gorgeous. Is that the type of shlachmanis that you think you get every day? That's awesome shlachmanis. What could be better and more appropriate on Purim? Nichnas yain yetzi seid. It's an incredible idea. Nichnas yain yetzi seid. Why would he not want to share his secrets before Nichnas yain? That he has to have Nichnas yain yetzi seid. The secrets come on after yain. Why can't they come? You want to share secrets with the friends. You want to inspire somebody. Why wouldn't you say the secrets right now? Is the sound working? Because if it's not, what a joke that would be. That would be humiliating. Can someone hear me? Someone do something that they can hear me. Nichnas yain yetisay. Okay, that's proof that you heard me. I guess you couldn't read lips that well. Tzvi Jacobs. Yeah, let Tzvi Jacobs come. This is my hachana for putting on tefillin. So it better achieve the same thing. Usually when I put on tefillin, I think I'm standing in front of Hashem. I'm representing all those people that don't have arms. There are people like that, and we want them to celebrate with us. I have a friend, Rabbi Oster, who just came by Hashgacha Pratis. He was the one that gave the shlachmanis. But by Hashgacha Pratis, if Rabbi Oster appeared to me this morning, I should mention his brother, who's suffering horribly, more than anyone could even imagine. I've written about it at length, so you could just look at my posts, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But someone, when you're around them, when they're suffering, I was talking about Hashem, this is the same thing. What could be more? This is where Hashem is mostly, with the people that are suffering. That's where God is. And it's our job with people that are not suffering, to whatever extent you're not suffering, that's what you have to celebrate on behalf of the people that are suffering, because that's where God is. God is in the hearts of those people who are suffering. And our job, if you want to uplift that suffering that God put into the world, because he wants us to elevate it. So when you have those people in mind, that's the whole purpose of you having any shleimus, of having any existence, of having any reason to celebrate, is because you're uplifting those people. We're connected, we're one whole. That means if there's part of our body that's not well, you have to uplift it. If you want to dance and you chas v'shalom only have one leg, that's a rachmanis, and you want to get up and dance. So those that have two legs, or those that even, I want to say by extension, even technologies that Hashem creates to enable people to celebrate a little bit, because we raised $2 million for somebody who had a quadruple amputation. I know it's not a popular subject, so I'm going to lose everybody, but that's a reality that exists, that happened to one of our brothers, and he's having technology to allow him to move around a bit, and that's fantastic. So whatever extent he's able to move around, or will be able to move around and to celebrate, that's the uplifting of the downtrodden that Hashem creates in the world. So by us giving him brachas, by us raising $2 million, which is unbelievable, in Adam haya mevin es kol hatev shel Hashem kol yom haya roiked v'sameach. Of course, that's what Purim teaches us. That's what we get the kayak for that for the entire year from celebrating on Purim. And I should leave it there. I have 15 minutes. That's a good number, nice round number. 15 generations till the moon was full, until Shlomo Melech took over the throne in the world, and representing the 15th generation from, I think, Avram Avinu or Moshe. Someone should help me on that one. Anyways, it's the fullness of the moon, which is actually, so tonight is the fullness of the moon. It's another reason to celebrate. The Shleimus, the 15th generation, Shlomo Melech, who represents the redemption of the Jewish people, where the Jews should be ruling the world. And that's a good thing. The whole world should want that, because we're the only ethical people in the world. We're the light of the entire world. We create the morality for the entire world. So the whole world should celebrate and put us on a throne. Put Shlomo Melech on the throne. Put David Melech. Put the Rebbe Melech and Mashiach on the throne. Right, Mordechai? And you think it's impossible. You thought it was impossible for a plane to get in the air. We don't know what's possible. I'm saying there could be a technological way that it could happen. It doesn't have to be through a miracle. I don't see why what's a contradiction? Purim is about the whole miracles in the world. So make a technology that could put a person's DNA with the consciousness back in it. It's a big deal for God. It's not.